Hi everyone, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm your host, Dr. Haider Shah. On behalf of Calvas, I would like to welcome all of you to this webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. Today we have another very interesting topic, and I'm really honored to welcome and introduce our distinguished guest speaker who is going to talk about writing a play. Is it a science or art? Plays can be anything from serious to playful. Successful playwriting depends not only on a dialogue but on intelligent plotting, credible characterization, and the ability to develop a theme through numerous number of pages of encounters and exchanges. However, it is important to understand that a play is merely a blueprint for a live production. The play text requires an interpretive artist to bring it to life as in art form. So, what is writing a play? Indeed, a very interesting topic, and I'm sure in this session you are going to learn very new and amazing things, the best insights about all these things, as we have an expert with us in today's this session. So stay tuned because an amazing stuff are coming ahead in this session. So before we start, I would like to thank Kalwas for arranging such enlightenment sessions, for their support and providing us such a wonderful platform. The aim of Kalwas is to give you the opportunity to connect and interact with world-renowned speakers, academic leaders, teachers, authors, researchers, experts, professionals, and businessmen to learn from their experiences, recommendations, and suggestions which will create an impact and will enable you to learn and develop yourself in order to grow and transform individually as well as to contribute to the world in a positive way. As our slogan is come, learn, and share knowledge. So today we have an amazing person as guest. He is internationally known and recognized speaker, a multi-dynamic person having vast experience and exposure. He is a great human being and always ready to contribute to the world in different positive way. So let me introduce him formally. He is a director of International Language Center at Gift University, Pakistan. He has done PhD in English literature with specialization in drama and theatre from University Putra, Malaysia. As an assistant professor in Department of English, he also teaches and celebrates both the modern and classical drama and takes keen interest in South Asian literature written in English. His PhD dissertation is on Ajoka Theatre's adaptation of Bracket, a selected work in Pakistan. On weekends, you can easily find him on the premises of Ajoka Theatre learning, creating and watching plays. He advocates the use of drama and theatre in the language teaching. Moreover, he actively participates in the film and TV production. He has directed several documentaries and short films for film festivals around the world. He has also received the Best International Student Award for Mercer College, USA for undergraduate program. His next writing project is a book titled Ajoka Bracket and the Critic of the Society. He has participated in many international and national conferences to highlight the issues regarding migration, dictatorship, and adaptation of Western literature in Pakistan. In addition to that, he has been involved with the drama and theatre education for over 10 years as a playwright, the adjudicator, workshop instructor, and resource writer, curriculum supervisor, professional development creator, and keynote speaker. He is the author and director of a play, No Exit, likely to be performed in Australia as well. Last but not the least, he's a wonderful speaker, author, teacher, researcher, professional, and above everything, a great human being. So please help me in welcoming our guest, Dr. TAIMUR KAYANI. Welcome to Kalwas platform, and thank you very much for joining us, Dr. TAIMUR.
Thank you, Dr. Haider Shah, for this wonderful opportunity. I mean, I really appreciate that because there's very less talk on the theater as a science, not a art. So this will be a great opportunity that we will explore that how we can learn the science of theater and how we can learn the science of script writing for theater and film. So, thank you for this wonderful opportunity.
Yeah, it's really our pleasure to have you. As a gentle reminder to the audience that Dr. Temur will be presenting and he would leave time for question answer session at the end of the session. So over to you, Doctor. Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, let me briefly tell you about the play I've written, which is very popular right now among university students and the authors and the writers around the world, which is No Exit. And I will also show you how that play can be a model for you for writing theater plays and films. So first of all, let me talk about the storytelling. If you want to write for film or TV or theater, you should first of all learn how to write story and how to come up with a good story. Matter of fact, I was talking to Dr. Haider Shah, and he was asking me that give us the fundamentals. That why we rank certain film as extraordinary and the other one is just okay. So these are three things, folks, which are very very important, very very significant if you would like to come up with a great story. Number one is intriguing premise. Second one is compelling characters, and the third one is fascinating world. Now, the first thing is the premise. What is premise? Premise is the purpose. So, purpose of the story. Now, let me tell you one thing that if you look at the other genres of literature, which are fiction and poetry, they are subjective in nature. While drama, theater, film, it's objective in nature. When I use the word objective, it means that you can visualize them. You can see them right away. That the way you are seeing me right now. So the first thing is you have to come up with a purpose because it's objective. The second one is that should have compelling character. The character should be unique, but the character should be reasonable, realistic. So if you look at them, you say they are real in life, but they should be unique in the way they act. So that's why you can grab the attention of the audience. And the third one, which is very very important, is the fascinating world. Remember, this is a world of fiction. It's not a world. It's a world you can create yourself. That's why we can call you a creative writer, because when you say I'm creative writer, it means that you can create your own world. And Dr. Saab, let me say three things to you also. Number one, these three things are good for advertising. Same thing. If you come up with a story behind a ad, like a surf or any other product, a McDonald or something like that, you should come up with the stories with these three things. So let me move on. Please remember these three things while I go on and tell you the other aspect, the other science of the another thing which is very important, that all stories and drama tell us about the human condition. It's all about human. If you cannot tell these stories without the human interaction, then your stories are worth nothing. Now, as are the key topic is that we will examine how you're going to put it all together as a script, because the main aim over here today is that that with that storytelling ideas we can convert them into uh, into a script. Just one second. uh, so what premise means purpose.
Dr. Taimur, your camera is off. Sorry.
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Please,
Let me
please.
see why it's not. Yeah.
Yeah, please take your time.
Yeah,
Now it's fine. It's fine.
so
Wonderful.
yeah, so I was telling you that the second and the most important thing is, after premise you come up with a main goal of your story. That what's the goal of the story, whether it's against the hypocrisy of the world, it's about the problem of life, or it's about a hero who tries to be a prime minister of a country, something like that. That's called purpose in your story. The second thing I talked about is how to develop compelling characters. For creating compelling character, you need three things. Number one, physiology. Number two, sociology. Number three, psychology. When I talk about physiology, is that the how the character look. Why we need that? Because it needs that the physiology defines the psychology of a character. Now you say, how come, Dr. Saab, how can I mean, that's that important? For example, let's say that if I have a problem in walking, it means that I cannot be a active person in the community. So my physiology means a lot. The color of my eyes, the way I dress up, the way I comb my hair, how I wear a tie, and something like that. How I walk. So when you create a character, you think about is or her physiology. For example, if you look at the character of a Joker film. If you look at the character of a Joker, which is very popular, film right now, look at the physiology of that person. If that person has to be look evil from inside, you have to come up with something evil from outside. So the most important thing is that which usually the creative writer ignores is the physiology. The second one is sociology. For example, I'm a good friend of Dr. Haider Shah. I talk to him a lot, and I have a great company with him. So my personality have a shadow of Dr. Haider Shah, because I hang out with him. So the second thing very important about the character is you think about that what kind of person he meets, and what kind of company he joins, which school he goes to, which university he works for. That kind of person. Third thing is very important, and it's about psychology. What's in his mind? You know, the two factors which I talked about, the physiology and sociology, they usually help you define the psychology of a character. So before writing anything, you just come up with a premise, and then you come up with the three things: the physiology, the sociology, and the psychology of the character. And when you have these things together, then you can understand that what kind of character you are creating. And I uh, think about any character of a film, and then you will find these three things in any successful movie. Then it's a very common rule that the structure of the story is simple: beginning, middle, and an end. But let me tell you another which is very important thing, and this is the trick, and I think, Dr. Haider Shah, if I have to sum up the whole of my talk and conversation with you all, is just this sentence. It defines everything about creative writing. The best place starts in the middle of the story, with the protagonist is in the conflict because of the inciting incident. Now what I'm saying is that all great plays, when you ask them what are the qualities of a great play, the great play always have story in the middle. They start with the story in the middle because they want to create a suspense. They want to create a conflict. And how they create the conflict? They create the conflict with the emergence of an incident. Anything big happen. And when anything big happen in the beginning of the story, let's say you talk about Joker, you talk about all kind of great movies you have watched. You always see that they start with some kind of suspense, and that incident changes everything. Not in the life of the protagonist. Protagonist means the hero. So hero lives always changes with an incident. So you have to create an incident. Without incident, it can be a poetry, it can be a fiction, but it cannot be a screenplay. It cannot be a film. It cannot be a drama. It cannot be a theater. Period. So in all drama, in all films, there is always a conflict, and the conflict starts with the incident, and that incident should be inciting or I call it interesting. Now, let's move on. That the inciting incident is the spark of the premise. The premise is the core of your play. It's the main purpose of your play. So the purpose should be linked to the incident. In other words, the incident should confirm the significance of your premise. Otherwise, it will be a no story. So what I'm saying is, to all students, because it's a as you told me that they are students from or participants from different areas, different background. All I would like to say that kindly work on the premise of your play or your screenplay. Now move on to that. Another important thing is that the incident indicates the problem your hero and your heroes face. Now, in all ads, there must be a problem. Your product should solve a problem. It's very important. Same thing goes with the film. That your hero has a problem because of that incident, and now that he has to face that. And there are two outcomes: whether he becomes successful or he will become unsuccessful. Either he live or dies. These things you should figure out before the story. Why? Because let me move on to the another technical aspects of it. Remember, my main argument, Dr. Haider Shah and my viewers, is that my main argument is that why are dramas or film fails? They fail because they have no premise, lack of conflict, and the third most important thing is that the plot, where to start a story, which is very important. So what I'm saying is that there should be obstacles, and how you create that obstacle. For example, I wrote down that hero is up against namely enemy, a kidnapper, the police, friend, or even himself. This is very interesting. That we should have an obstacle. Hero has a premise. He has to achieve something. For example, in my play No Exit, the hero was for searching for peace in his life, and he was saying that maybe I'll go back to home, maybe I'll go back to Pakistan. And because he was an illegal immigrant in Malaysia, he was thinking that I'll go back, I'll meet my mama, and I open a store over there. So that was his goal. And what are the obstacles? Police was after him because he was an illegal immigrant. So what I'm saying is that you have to create a visible enemy for your audience, and it's very, very important. Dr. Shah, for example, in Excel, or in any kind of surf or any kind of product ad, they have an enemy. Like dirt is the enemy. So the storytelling device, the film, the movies, they have the same kind of basic argument. Now you have, or even himself. What I mean by that, it means that there is an enemy outside. So there is the outer conflict, outer obstacle, and there is the inner obstacle, which is inside of it, the character. So you have to come up with both kind of obstacle. Very, very significant. And I wrote down that inner versus outer conflict. So when you write a story, friends, the most important thing is you write down, you make a chart, just like science. You have to come up with that, what kind of inner conflict they have, what kind of outer conflict they have, that kind of stuff. And then their model. Why Dr. Shah, I was arguing with you that that there is a drama behind, there is science behind the script writing. Why I was saying that? Because there is a plot resolution model. Let me discuss it with all of my audience, because this is the secret, this is the model. And whenever you use the word model, it means it's science. It cannot be an art, because model you can repeat it. Model, you can repeat it without any problem. That's why we call it model. So the most important thing is in a model is that you come up with a story, and you discuss in 5 ways, in 5 points. Number one is exposition. Number one is exposition. Number two, number two is rising action. Number three is climax. Number four is falling action, and number five is resolution. So these are 5 points, my friends, which are very, very significant in a plot resolution model. What is plot? Plot is series of events connecting together. Series of events connected together. Which means what? It means that every event should give birth to another event. That's why it has a cause and effect relationship. When I was saying science, in science, it's very important that there is a cause and effect relationship between the two variables. Because if there is no the cause and effect relationship, it means that it cannot be science. So in the plot resolution model, as I discussed you, there are 5 points. First of all, you have to expose your character. You have to show the fantastic world which I was discussing, and you have to come up with the incident which provokes the character, and with a obstacle, the first obstacle. The second one is rising action. Rising action means that now your story is a full swing. It's moving with a conflict. It should moving with a conflict. Then the conflict goes up and it reaches its peak. And at that peak, we call it climax. And at climax, the real color of your hero are shown. The real colors. For example, either he's a hero with a great strength, or he's a coward, or he's all that kind of things. That's why I use the word protagonist, because the latest word for hero for modern plays or for contemporary plays is the term we use, protagonist. So at climax, he has no choice, either to live or die for his objective. Whether he will be successful, or he will be failed because of the obstacles he faces. Now, these things are very, very significant when it comes to climax. And after climax, it's a falling action. Falling action means that now the story is moving towards the end, and then the resolution, which means that now it's over. The story is over with the premise you premise you came up with should uphold the ground, that you have come up with the right premise for the story. Dr. Haider Shah, the formula is the formula, the plot resolution model was initially developed by Aristotle 2,500 years ago. And we are using the same philosophy of creating stories with Aristotle principles. What we are doing is that now we are coming up with more science in it. You can ask me that what kind of how many obstacles there should be, and what kind of level of obstacle should a story can have. So my number one thing is that there should be 3 levels of the obstacle. Number one, obstacle should be weak, and the hero can cross it without any problem. The second obstacle will be more harder, and you see that your hero is now facing problems, and he's scared, but he's still fighting. He's still moving on with the second obstacle. And the third obstacle is the obstacle where he collapses and he fights for his life. Either he will get that thing, or he will be destroyed. That's the third biggest obstacle he will face. Now, this is the first structure of the story. Now there is another structure of the story, which is called script writing. In script writing, we have to come up with scenes. And in scenes, there is a structure. And the structure should contain four things. Number one, setting, where you have set the scene. It's very significant. The location of the scene. So the first thing is location of the scene. The second thing is characters. What are the characters that are involved in that scene? The third one is action. What they are doing. For example, if I have to create the scene, I'll say, well, its location is webinar. The characters are Dr. Haider Shah, Dr. TAIMUR KAYANI, and millions of audience. and the third one is that what they are doing. They are talking about the script writing, the fundamentals of script. And the fourth one is dialogue. So when you write the format of the script, it should have contained these four things. Number one, setting, location. Number two, characters. Number three, action. And number four are dialogues. And every scene, as I told you about the model, every scene you should locate them under that plot resolution. For example, if I say, okay, for exposition, I need two scenes. For the rising action, I need one scene. For climax, I need one scene. Falling action, I need two scenes. And the resolution is I need one scene. So I need 6 scenes. I need 7 scenes, 10 scenes. So different scenes, and these scenes should connect each other with the cause and effect relationship. This is very simple. That your every scene should have a reason, should have an objective, should have a message, and should have a work on the storyline, because you have already, as I told you, developed a storyline, and that storyline can be divided into Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Act 4. If you are writing a theater play, the script for the theater, which we call play text, because if you want to perform it, the script become play text. If you write a script for the film, it's called screenplay. So the important thing is that every scene should connect with another scene, with the relationship of cause and effect. Because if there's no cause and effect, then you have a problem, because then you will say, what's the purpose of this? So you move on, and as I wrote here, that significance and purpose. Every scene should have a significance and a purpose of a story. Then we move on. Again, the structure of the third Act 3 and the final act. So another topic I would like to talk about to your audience, Dr. Shah, is that how to practice script writing. And what is the because as I told you that my PhD in theater, but my MS in film and TV. So I did my master's in film and TV. And whenever you develop a film, or you write about that kind of thing, you always have problem with storytelling, because students come up and they say, first of all, it's very hard for us to come up with a story. So what you do, how you teach that screenplay writing? You come up with a short story from any writer. any excellent writer, any famous writer, and check the short story, and see, is there any conflict. For example, I recommend all of your participants to go through a story called The Kite by Somerset Maugham. So it's a great story, The Kite. And that story is a short story, but there is a conflict in it. So if there is no conflict, you should write, you should come up with that kind of story, because it means that there is no story. For play, for screenplay, for drama, you need a conflict. So first thing, come up with a short story. Then what, think about that, how you can convert that short story. Select the scene. Which scene is, it can create a suspense. Bring that scenes which can create a, a suspense in the beginning. Pick it up. So as the audience, whenever you see that, you say, wow, this is a great scene, and it should grab the attention right away. Look at any ad, because Dr. Adar, you belong to a business world. So I say, look at the famous ads. The first scene, the first few seconds are one of the most eye-catching, heart-grabbing, mind-blowing. So the first thing is that come up with that scene. As I told you, that the most important thing, you come up with the scene from the middle of the story. Create that suspense. Then move on. Let your audience watch and see the conflict. Be very objective. Create obstacles to make it more interesting, and then take it to the climax scene. The climax scene is the another point which should grab the attention of your audience. So, and then create a falling action, because after the whole crisis, after the climax, then you should move downwards, because you are towards the solution of the story. And then finally, you have to create the last scene, the last memorable scene, whether your hero lives or dies, and you have to create that in a very objective way. Screenplay is a highly objective endeavor. Why I'm calling it science? Why my main argument was that it should be science, because in science you can connect, you can relate, and with the presence of art in it, which comes from dialogue. See, dialogue is the avenue for art. And when you connect science with art, then it becomes very powerful. And it can become very powerful and mind blowing. So, this is my argument for today. And I recommend all of you, pick up any story, work on the principles I told you, look at the premise, the message of a story, and then just move on. And I think with these principles, you can be a highly successful screenplay writer. Yes, Doctor.
Wow, Dr. Taimur, it was so wonderful presentation. I would say very nicely you have communicated your idea regarding the play and why it is called science and art. You have given a wonderful explanation.
Thank
I love the way you started it from the fundamentals, and then very nicely you have told us the distinction between the subjective and the objectivity. And very nicely you have come to the physiology, sociology, and the psychology perspective of it. And I love the way you have given us the structure, particularly the role of conflict in a play. What is the that conflict, and then what the hero is supposed to do. I mean, the objectivity, the mission, whether he is successful or unsuccessful. I really love that thing, and the inner conflict, the outer conflict, all the things are what were very much connected, and these were the fundamentals, I would say. That's why you have mentioned in couple of your statements that that is why it is supposed to be science. And in dialogue it comes the your creativity, and that dialogue you are it is all about the art. Really enjoyed your whole presentation, highly captivating your presentation was. And I was just watching that. That's why you are the expert, because you are making things very easy for us and for our audience as well. I love the way you were connecting the different dots, the place, the playwriting, and then the theater. What is the difference between them, and particularly the scenes? All these things. It's a very new kind of thing. In Pakistan, I would say people should be coming up towards writing the meaningful story, which you have mentioned in your presentation as well. Good,
Thank you very much.
yes,
Thank you,
please.
Dr. Haider Shah, for your compliments and your encouragement. And
Thank you.
it feels great. I feel blessed that with a scholar like you is encouraging this. So I really
Very,
appreciate that.
very nice. And it's really pleasure while listening to your wonderful suggestion and explanation. And you have, since you have a wonderful background, and I could see the exposure and experience of you, and that's why your connectivity and your examples were so nice and so famous. So, if you allow me, should we start with the first question, please?
Please, please.
Okay. In your presentation, you have also talked about the creative writing as well. There is a popular quotation regarding the Albert Einstein. They say imagination is more important than knowledge. So, in your opinion, why the play is more important for the student in terms of learning? What its connection with the learning point of view? Yes, please.
Okay, it's a great question because when you imagine something, you see the whole thing in a holistic way. So the first thing is that at Griff Language Center, whenever we teach language skills, we teach drama because we think that the language you can improve your language skills through drama a lot. And the second thing is that the critical thinking. Also, you understand that that the most important, most significant thing is the critical thinking comes from imagination. So if you cannot imagine certain things, if you cannot visualize things from inside, you cannot come up with critical thinking. So what I'm saying is that the art, theater, the creative writing explores your both creative and critical thinking. It explores both because when I use the word science, it means the critical thinking because with art you can be creative, but when it comes to critical thinking, it can be science. you know and what that's why I'm saying that the structure, the model, all these things, when you involve these things in your creative writing, then all of a sudden you get the top of the line imagination, and you say, and you can visualize everything. And a matter of fact, as a creative writer, Dr. Saab, whenever I use and whenever I write something, I oftenly visualize it. And what will be the visual effect, where the character will look at, the scene, the first scene, the second scene, and I visualize them, and that visualization comes from my imagination.
Wow, wonderful. Very nicely answered this question. And that's the wonderful thing. We wanted to have your opinion, and you finally addressed this question. Yesterday, Dr. Taimur, we had a session with the Mr. Michael Davis from USA, and it was on storytelling. So we
Oh,
were discussing so many things regarding why storytelling is important in terms of learning, why it is important for the leaders, business leaders, and how it is related to the culture and everything. We were talking about the storytelling in terms of the public speaking and how it is important for the society, for the human development as well. Somehow the playwriting is also related to that storytelling as well. Yesterday, we asked the Michael Davis regarding the culture perspective of storytelling. That why do leaders need the storytelling for the culture while building the culture, organizational culture or maybe the journal culture. So now the question from you is from the perspective of playwriting. It is supposed that we pass the memories through the plays, different plays, and we build the culture. Is it true? Or if it is true, why you think it is more important to build the culture through different plays? Because it is supposed to be a transferring the meaningful or meaning towards the next generation. So what's your comment on that, please?
Okay, it's a very important, very significant question you come up with. Linking plays and theater with culture. You know, first thing is that the theater is life. It's exhibition of life. It's about life problems. It's like, and then when you think about culture, it means that with culture, how you solve these problems. See, you see that if you look at European plays, you say how Europe solved this problem, how Europe addressed this issue. So the culture, there's a link between culture, plays, and the problems and solutions. When you look at the Brecht, the German playwright, which is very famous right now, and we, matter of fact, we adapted his many plays in Pakistan. And I say it over here that we have converted is all poetry, drama into Punjabi and English language. So you can imagine that a German writer that famous, and he says that the drama should be purposeful, and it should connect the culture with the reality, and show that what kind of culture we required. So when you look at the Greek drama, Shakespeare drama, you see that you can check the culture of that time through their drama. So what I'm saying is that if you want to highlight your culture, the best avenue for it is through theater, film, and TV. Look at the Hollywood right now. Look at how America is more got its power. It got its power from screen. The all the films I quoted, and you will quote, they are all from, majority of them from America. So what I'm saying is that culture is a great avenue, and theater can be a great avenue for promoting your culture. So culture, same thing. Uh, Matter of fact, I was Dr. Saab, I was researching the movies for the entrepreneurship. That what are the movies who promotes business mind or entrepreneurship, and I searched that there are more than 10, 20 of that movies. So if that we can incorporate that movies into our syllabus in the business education, look what kind of effects we can create. I mean, we can promote these kind of thinking through film. So what I'm saying is that the culture, and you can add on to organization culture. What I'm saying is you can even transform educational culture through movies and films.
Yeah, very nicely said. And I think that's the positive role of the plays, that they can transform the education system or the culture for that perspective in order to have the best culture, or the culture which promotes the, I would say, that harmony and
You know,
positivity and things like
Dr. Saab,
that.
one thing, let me cite one thing. You know,
Please.
dialogue is very democratic.
Hmm.
Dialogue is very it builds democracy in your culture, because when we talk, the biggest problem is that the problem we face is that in a culture is that when we don't dialogue with others.
Hmm.
So with plays, you create that dialogue. So that's the political dimension of a play also,
Wow.
and culture is
Wow.
political also.
Yes. Wow, very nice. And you have connected the very two different dots together. And how can we take advantage of these things? Very nice. Really, I'm enjoying the way you are giving the answer. It's so great. We have Dr. Taimur, another very interesting question, and they are looking forward for your suggestion and tips. They say that, sir, please guide us. How do you end a play script? Any tips to build and execute a satisfying ending? Yes, please.
Oh, yeah. See, always think about an ending in the beginning. Always think there are two kind of ending. Number one, tragic. And number one, two is comedy. If the hero fulfill its goals, achieve its goals, it means that it's a comedy. And if it's he's unsuccessful, then it become a tragedy. So first of all, before beginning the story, always come up with this thing, that how you achieve your premise. Remember, I talk about purpose before. See, look at the that that how you achieve that purpose, through tragedy or through comedy. So let's say, if you say that it would be great if I get it through comedy, then what you have to do is to the ending should be happy. The hero achieve everything and he is successful. But if it comes to tragedy, it means that he dies at last scene. Majority of the movies are successful when they have a tragedy in their stories, because life is tragic. Life is not hunky dory. There's always problems, always issues. So if you look at the best films in the movies, you always see a tragic end. So look at it. If you if you if you want to create tragic end, I would suggest you to read Greek plays, Greek dramas, and you will learn from that. If you move on to comedy, if you want to have a great ending with the comedy touch, go for Victorian literature, Victorian drama, and look at that from that.
Yes, very nicely said once again, Dr. Taimur. And yes, indeed, life teaches us a lot, and particularly from the play, we learn a lot because there are different characters and there's a different story, different accident, and I would say that inner and outer obstacles, and then the story, everything connects at the climax, that what happened, and if the hero was supposed to carry out the positivity throughout the story, then he becomes the successful at the end, which is actually the moral of the story. So the very nicely you have mentioned that if you want to learn from the tragic, you can go for the Greek, and then the comedy for another one, which is very nice, very great. Thank you very much. Another question is very important, and they want to have your expert opinion on that. The question is, sir, please guide us. What makes a successful play in terms of you? A play must be heard to really be understood, or it should convey a message. As an expert, what do you see as a successful play? Yes, please.
Excellent question. If you want to see the recipe for success of a play, or why a great play, I'll say three things. Number one, a great conflict. For that great conflict, you need to have a premise, have a good premise, very intriguing premise. And the third one is compelling characters. Come up with characters which can be remembered by everybody later on in their life. Think about a film. See which film has one of the best intriguing characters, the best premise, and a great conflict. If you have three things together, your play, your screenplay will be a hit. I promise you that. This is my promise, Dr. Adesha.
Wow, very nice. Thank you very much. And again, you have connected it to the slides as well, that you have elaborated in a very wonderful manner. So that brings me to another very interesting question, and you have discussed about it in your presentation as well, but they want further your elaboration regarding that perspective. They want to ask that, sir, please give us share your thoughts. Why is play important to sociologists and society in terms of implication from the play? What are the different implication on society? Yes, please.
Yes, this is, if you can, let me say that the play, movies, film, they can transform society. They can transform the ills of the society. They can change the society. They can rebuild the society. We have seen it. We can see it from the Augusto Boal's play. We can see from Ajoka Theatre's play. We can see it Badal Sarkar in India plays, that they transform the society. When I say transform, it means that the value system. the value system of a society. For example, in, let's say, in Pakistan, if you want to educate our youth to work against the irony and other problems of the society, the joblessness, for example. See, that kind of and we have to create a society where people don't work for just for the job. They create their own job. They come up with their own solution. They open up their own business. So how you can do it? You can do it. You can change transform the value system of the society by creating plays like that, in which in which you cultivate that success can come out of your own work. You know, for example, right now we have a lot of problem with our society, with marriage and all those things. The complication, the issues, and and how we can solve them. Again, the drama and theater is a great, place. Matter of fact, Dr. Adisha, we have movies and we have a drama in Pakistan. Let me contextualize, if you allow me to do that. All our dramas are not are about the general woman or a girl living in a home. But what about working lady? What are her problems? How we can solve that problems of her? And how can we give a life a change in her life so she can work hard, she can achieve a great goals in life, and also have a good family life. All these things can be built through drama and theater, and for that we need a message, we need a purpose. So my thing is that, although it's very significant to be entertaining, but you can come up with a entertainment through a message. It doesn't mean that you have to be boring. Like our classroom, our classroom space can be a theater. I usually say I tell my student that for me, my classroom space is a theater. It's a movie, it's a film, it's a drama. you know because otherwise it will be boring for you. So what I'm saying is that it's a great relationship, and there should be a dynamic relationship between between a society and drama. We are not here just to tell the story. We are here to raise issues. The theater, the movie, the film are based on message.
Very nicely said once again, Dr. Taimur. Really, so great answers to that. It's not about the entertainment only, it's also to highlight the issues, to raise the issues. Very nicely, you have ended with a wonderful suggestion. I really appreciate the way you are answering, the great knowledge you have. It's wonderful. The last two questions, which is very much personal to ask. They want to know about your personal interest. They want to ask that, sir, please share what was your source of motivation choosing this field. Yes, please.
The It's a very good question, because my life is about theater, about drama, about film. you know the main thing is that I want to transform myself. And what is the vehicle for that? The vehicle for me is to create my own story. So whenever I think about story, I always come up with a film. you know and being an imaginative person, being a creative person, I realize that this is the best avenue for me. That's one thing. Second thing is language skills, the communication skills. Dr. Shah, I think that all writing centers, the language center, they should promote drama and theater, because from there you can student can get confidence, knowledge, creative thinking, critical thinking, and language skills. So what I'm saying is that the second thing is that I love to be a part of a language culture, and that gave me the strength to pursue this. So these are the two main reasons behind that. And the third one is that it's a gap. Like, for example, as a researcher, Dr. Haider Shah, I check your articles, and they always come up with a gap. You always work with a gap. What's the gap in it? So I realize that there's many teachers of poetry are there, and fiction, but they are rarely teachers on theater and drama. So that was my third, push. I should study something unique, and it's a unique itself.
Wow, very nice and really interesting one to know about your inclination towards this field. And it's really very true that very few teachers are available like you who has chosen this field. And there is a lot of potential in this field, and our world requires people like you who are so wonderful, and they are very creative in terms of doing it. And I believe that the people who are very good at connecting the different dots are needs to be in this field. So you are a kind of inspiration for them to follow your footsteps. You are the leader in that, and yes, we feel proud of you and the way
So
you
nice.
are performing. That's so great. Well, my last question, which is very important, and we received this question a lot, that please ask Dr. Taimur Kiani that what things he would like to change in the play if he is given that authority to change the structure. Yes, please.
See, there's another structure which is called episodic structure, which is called the our South Asian touch. You know, we have a great theater, Dr. Haider Shah, uh, before the British arrival in subcontinent. It called Swang theater. It's a Punjabi theater, and the Punjabi theater is full of, action. There's a dhol, there is music, there's fun, but there is a story, there is a conflict, and there is always a solution. All Swang theater ends in a good spirit, and it was used to be in Punjabi. So my thing is that I really recommend all of you, your participants, is to just go through the Swang theater definition and look at the subcontinent part of it. In Hindi, we call it Notanki, and Notanki itself is a great, format for the play. So if you look at me, if my own expression, I'll say Swang theater is one of the best. I wish we can come up with that. We can revive it. We have some plays from Ajoka theater, uh, which is one of the is called Black is My Robe. It's a Swang theater, same pattern, same style. So, uh, uh, beside looking at the Western models, which I discussed with you, I wish I can teach Swan theater to Pakistanis and
Wow.
around the world.
Wow, very nice. Thank you very much for sharing your wonderful knowledge and experiences with us. It was a really great session with you, a very learning session. And indeed, I would say a powerful explanation and a wonderful content you have presented, and you have explained in a very simple way, and you have given us the proper structure that how can you evaluate even the play, whether it is a good play, a meaningful and impactful or not. And very nicely you have connected again back to the society and to the value, the culture. Very nicely you have articulated. Really, you are an asset for us, and we feel proud of people like you who are contributing to the world in a very positive way. Thank you very much for being who
Thank
you
you,
are.
Dr.
Yeah.
Shah. Dr. Shah, I really appreciate that. I salute you for conducting such a great program for the participants, and for me, it's a great experience.
Thank you.
I wish that you invite me, for more times also, and I want to be part of
Yeah.
these kind of discussions. So
Thank you
nice.
very Thank you very much. And indeed, we will request you for another session as well, because a
Thank you.
really wonderful, thought-provoking session it was with you. Very humble person we found you, and very gentle. I would say that really it was a very wonderful session with you. Dr. Temur, at the end of the session, we ask each our guest that what is your message to the world. So, what is your message to the world as a speaker, author, teacher, researcher, trainer, learner, professional, and educator? Yes, please.
My message to the world is that don't hide yourself. Come on stage, show your colors, and to the world, you know, and show your real colors. And the world
Wow.
should be a happy place. So with your
Wow.
colors, it will become happier.
Wow, very nice, wonderful message to the world. It means that spread the positivity, and you must utilize the gifts you have born with, and which you have mentioned in your presentation as well, the uniqueness, and that's the wonderful thing. So again, I would say you concluded in a wonderful message to the world. Yes, indeed, you have to come up with the true color so that you can be a more productive, and the society and the community and the world at large can have a benefit from your existence to this world. That's the wonderful thing. So we do follow our distinguished guest speaker through his research work, and you can email him for future learning and guidance. He's very generous and always ready to help the people. Moreover, the wonderful explanation and powerful content which the Dr. Kiani has already elaborated will help you to learn and develop your understanding regarding the play. So take advantage of all the information, important tips and suggestions shared by an expert. So that is all we have time for today. Once again, thank you very much, Dr. Taimur Kiani.
You're
And
always welcome.
yeah, thank you. And I would like to thank our audience who join us. If you have any additional question about information shared today, please email to us or connect to the speaker directly through his email or on social media. Thank you all for your support and liking our session. Stay tuned as many sessions are on the way. Please do not miss any session. Until next session, take